Hey, I'm Liv. Welcome back to my channel Endless Pages and welcome to today's video, which is my reading wrap up for the month of July. Let's talk about what I read in the month of July. It was an interesting month for me, July. Very interesting. Not always in a good way, but I'm back hitting my average of 5 books a month. I read 5 books this month, which is my typical average, and I feel like I haven't been hitting it this year. So for me, 5 books in 1 month at the moment is absolutely fantastic. So despite the month's overall themes of sickness and frustration, I did have a good reading month, so I'll take that as a win. I did have 2 DNFs as well, which I might just talk you through straight away just to get them out the way. So my first DNF in the month of July was Sabriel by Garth Nix. I should say, I was participating in the Australian Readathon in the month of July, and I did successfully read Australian the whole month. I didn't complete, there was a bingo board you can complete. I didn't successfully complete the bingo board, but I did a lot better than I have in previous years, so we'll take the win. So this was for the prompt randomly selected, so I popped a bunch of books in a spinner wheel and spun that, and this is what I got. Listen, I literally can't tell you why I didn't vibe with this book. I don't have a good reason. And I know, like, it's personal. I don't have to provide you a great reasons why. Normally if I DNF a book, I can tell you why. Like, I didn't like the writing, or I didn't like the characters, or, you know, I don't know if I was bored with it. Maybe I just genuinely wasn't vibing with the writing style. I can't point at one reason why I didn't enjoy this book. And like, you can't say that I didn't give this book a fair enough shot, because I read 180 pages of this book. This is basically about Sabriel, and her dad's like a mage who can bring people back from the brink of death, and her father goes missing, so she kind of takes his position to try and go find him. And I was really excited to read this book. Female protagonist, cool magic system where there was like you could control, what are they called? I can't even remember. Like these dead kind of creatures, ghouls kind of thing. You could control them and call them, and with bells, and all the different bells had different powers, which I thought was really cool and unique. So it really did draw my attention, the blurb. I thought I was something that I was absolutely going to eat up. And I found that when I was trying to read this, I was really forcing myself to pick this up. It was like sitting next to me, and I was like, oh my god, I do not want to pick this up, but I was like, but I need to, so I kept picking it up. I don't know why, because I didn't want to DNF the first thing I picked up in the month. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it is the writing style. Maybe this wasn't the writing style for me. I wasn't very enthralled in the story. I wasn't super connecting with the main character. And there was this particularly weird scene close to the start where Sabriel has just kind of had to kind of run for her life kind of thing, and she's all like dirty and messy from, you know, fighting. And she gets to her father's house, which is kind of run by like these ghoul-like creatures, is the best way I could describe them. And they're kind of like almost like servants in the household. And might I mention, Sabriel, I could be quite wrong, is like 16 or 17 years old, or maybe 18. She's around that kind of age, so still a child, right? Well, a teenager, but young. And there's a scene where the ghouls are like, you know, like doing everything for her, and she's like, stop, like I can do stuff myself. And then they wash her. I found this whole scene weird and unnecessary. Anyway, these ghouls are like washing this teenage girl, and then they start mentioning, they're like, oh, they like cleaned her private parts like unemotionally, or whatever the line was. I can't remember the exact line, but it was very odd. And I was like, why is this a necessary scene? Why do we need to mention this young woman's private parts at all? Why do we need to have this washing scene? Just say she hopped in a bath and relaxed after like a big battle and calmed down and thought about what she was going to do. Like, why do we need to have ghouls cleaning her and mentioning her private parts? I just found it really weird, and that was a weird scene, and I got past it. I moved on. I kept reading, but it just stuck with me as a very unnecessary and weird scene. yeah, I was really forced. I cannot believe, honestly, that I got through 180 pages of this book. I should have DNF'd it maybe at like 100 pages, to be honest. Yeah, it's just not for me. It's really, really, really not for me. It's a pity because it's signed and personalised, but oh well, I didn't like it, so I DNF'd it. And then I spun again, actually, for the same prompt on the spinner wheel, and I got Spice Road. Oh, I need to go pick that up. This is Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. This is like a fantasy. I think it's YA. It definitely reads very YA. Yeah, it's got magic and spice and a quest and all your usual fantasy stuff. So I was quite excited to read this. This is also a signed copy. It's not personalised, but a sign. Yeah, so I DNF'd this after 13 pages, which honestly might be the quickest I've ever DNF'd a book. It sounds crazy. 13 pages is crazy. I understand and recognise that that's insane, and insanely quick to DNF a book. As soon as I started reading this book, I was like, oh, I hate this writing style. This is bad writing. And it was instant. It just hit me instantly that I wasn't liking this writing style. Like I said, I only read 13 pages, but it was already, the writing was already bad to me. It was already, rather than showing me things and helping me learn the world and the characters through context and events, it was already just kind of just telling me information, and it was very obviously done and not smooth, and I was like, I can't do this. So I think 13 pages might not be a genuine effort to understand this book or give this book a go, I should say. So I don't think this is a hard DNF. This is probably just a soft DNF. I will give this another genuine go. I think it deserves more than 13 pages, but yeah, for the time being, I was like, I just DNF'd Sabriel. I didn't want the slump to continue, so I just put it down. But I think I'll give this one another go. The first book I finished in July was The Wife and the Widow by Kristen White. This was for the Australian Readathon prompt, set on an island. This is set in an island town. We follow two women, so we have dual perspective. We have, I can't remember their names. We have Kate, who is a recent widow, and then we have Abby, who lives on the island. She's a local, who believes that she's just kind of found evidence that her husband might have killed Kate's husband. So we follow their two perspectives as they try and uncover what happened to this man. I really enjoyed this. I really don't have a lot to say about this book, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. I rated it 4 stars. I think what I do want to mention about Kristen White's books is the twists. I love his twists. Oh my god, he writes such a good twist. Like, I always have like such a big reaction while I'm reading his books. I'm so dumb that this time around it took me a second to realize what had happened, because I was reading it and I was absolutely eating this book up, like going through it so quickly, and then they kind of gave you the first big hint of what was actually happening. And I was like, wait, what? This book has gotten so weird and confusing. I'm so confused. And I reread the chapter, and then once I reread it, I was like, oh my god, it was such a good twist. Like, both times I've read his books, I have had such a fun time with the twist. And I just, yeah. If you want a good Australian crime book with a good twist, Kristen White is where it's at. I really enjoy his writing. I really don't have much more to say about this book. It feels like so long ago I read this, to be honest, but yes, I will definitely be reading more from Kristen White because, yeah, had a lot of fun. 4 stars, not quite 5 stars. It's not like the most amazing writing that you'll ever read, but really fun time. Next up, I read Safe Haven by Shankari Chandran. This was for the prompt read a book published in 2024-2025. And this was absolutely great. This is a book about asylum seekers, and it's set in this Australian community near what is, I guess, a metaphor for Christmas Island, which is, if you don't know, an island where we hold asylum seekers when they enter the country illegally. So yeah, it's kind of meant to be a representation of that. This follows our main character, who is a sister, and she escapes Sri Lanka and seeks asylum in Australia. And because she is a sister and was very brave in protecting the other asylum seekers in their dangerous journey to Australia on the boat. They granted her this kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a special citizenship, or permanent residency kind of thing because of that. So we kind of, like Shankari Chandran's other book, this is very character focused and you spend a lot of time getting to know the characters. I think this book gets its message across in a very, very, very clever way. So I think there's this like disgusting kind of preconception a lot of Australians have, and not just Australia, like I'm sure it's the same in other countries, Australians have about asylum seekers, and these incredibly wrong opinions that everyone is coming from other countries are criminals, and all of this disgusting, you know, stereotypes and, you know, opinions. And I think this is such a good way to get past those dangerous perceptions by having such a character focused story and getting to know these characters on such a personal level. There goes my phone, falling to the ground. And yeah, showing what great people, that's not what I'm trying to say, what great contributions people can make to local communities, and how diversity is a strength and not a weakness. And it shows that the people that are coming here are fleeing terror and they're fleeing danger and they're wanting better lives for themselves and their family. They want to live in an environment where they are safe and free, which is Australia for them, and we should be proud that that's a country they feel they can come to be free, to be themselves, and to be a part of our community. And it shows the amazing contributions once here that asylum seekers, immigrants, refugees can make to our community, how they can strengthen them, and the amazing connections people make with the asylum seekers once they get to know them, share their homes, share their country with them, and, you know, learn from them, cook with them, celebrate with them, learn their amazing food. Just as an example, in this book, cooking comes up often as a way that people bond with the community. So I just felt like that was a really powerful way of getting through those incredibly bad stereotypes. This is also a very confronting read, but necessary. Like I said, a lot of this book is set in a detention center, so we follow our main character Finna as she goes back and volunteers at the detention center and assists the doctor there, and looks after the people that she came over with on the boat. And it shows the mental health issues that occur because these people are basically in a prison after they've just come here and escaped terror. They've gone from one prison, they say in this book, to another. So I think it's like her other book, Chai Time. I'll keep comparing it to Chai Time. It's confronting but necessary read. There's two kind of big plots in this book. We have our main character has spoken out against what she's seeing happening in those detention centers, and because she's spoken out and breached the detention center's terms of visiting, she is at risk at being deported herself, because she has spoken out at the crisis that she is seeing happening in this detention center. We also have a mystery of a death of a guard in this book as well. I would say the death of the guard is more of a side plot. I mean, it all connects up and it all makes sense in a really good way, but I definitely wouldn't say go into this book thinking it's all about the thriller. I think it's definitely more all about learning about the asylum seekers, their strengths, and the beauty of human connection despite where you're from. And yeah, there's always things that people can bond over, so despite completely different lived experiences. So yeah, the dead guy is more of a side plot. So yeah, that kind of comes more into later on in the story. It's more of a focus, but early on it's not really the main point of this story. I also really loved our main character Finna, the sister. I thought she was such an amazing, strong female character. I loved her perspective. I loved her compassion. I loved her tenacity. And I loved that she would always put other people above herself despite the risk to herself, and despite facing the risk of deportation, she still fought so hard for the people that she loved. And I loved reading from her perspective. She was just such a inspiring character. The final thing I'll say about this book, and something that again that I think made it so impactful, is that it's briefly based off an actual asylum seeker family that came to Australia, Queensland, I believe. Let me double check the actual name of the family in the notes. So it's actually roughly based off the Biola family, and the Australian community that got behind her when they were at risk at being deported, just like what happens in this book. It's also inspired by the story of Parapahia Ali Kaur, his Australian mum, and their efforts to help him and his family seek Australia here in asylum. So yeah, I think that made it more impactful because I recognized and I knew the story of the people that, well, from the news and stuff, from the people that inspired this book. So I think that again just made it the more impactful, knowing that it was inspired by actual asylum seekers who wanted to start again in Australia. I ended up giving this 4.5. Again, I know I shouldn't compare to Chai Time, but it just wasn't quite Chai Time. I don't think anything she writes to me will ever beat Chai Time, but still 4.5 stars, and I absolutely bawled my eyes out at the ending. So yeah, trigger warning, this one is sad. Also trigger warnings for mental health, self-harm, grief. It's, yeah, check your trigger warnings before you read this, but I highly recommend it. Next up was another 4.5 star read. I love this book so much. Captive Prince by C.S. Beckett. Oh my god. So I won't talk about this book too much because I did read this all in a weekend reading vlog I uploaded recently. So I'll pop it up in the cards so you can watch that. But I will briefly, I promise, talk about what I thought about this book. First of all, I'll start this review by please saying, check the trigger warnings. Some effed up stuff does happen in this book. It's about slavery. It's basically, this guy is Prince Damon, and his father, the king, dies, and his brother decides to take the throne for himself, and he has Damien sold into slavery and given to a slave gift to their enemy country's Prince Laurent. Basically, Laurent's country is apparently roughly based off France, and like old school France. And Damon, I think, is ancient Greece kind of vibes, is his country. And yeah, the whole book is Damon basically in slavery to Prince Laurent, who are enemy countries. And Damon has quite a dirty secret that if Laurent and his people found out what he did, he would be in even more of a situation that he was already in. I fucking loved this book so much. I had put off reading it for so long. The slavery thing did scare me off. It really did. And then my friend Amy was like, you'll love it, trust me. And I finally picked it up, and I'm so fucking glad I did. This book was made for me. I ate this shit up. I should have known I liked it. It's the author of Dark Rise, my favorite duology ever. Well, actually Six of Crows. Probably one of my favorite duologies ever. I love the banter and the dynamic between these two. I love our main character Damon and his selfishness despite the shit situation he's in. He's looking out for his people at risk to himself. And I like Laurent. He's growing on me. He's an interesting character, and I think he's got some heart behind his hard exterior, and I loved seeing that kind of crack and getting to know him more. I think their banter and their dynamic was really good. This is a very political book. It's very like court politics, and Damon has to kind of observe the court politics happening in Prince Laurent's country. So I absolutely loved that. Again, one final warning, for the love of God, if you're going to read this book, please check the trigger warnings. Yeah, it's effed up. But I ate this book up. Like, I absolutely adored this book. I have not felt this way about a book in so long. The day I finished it, the next day I went and bought out the sequel, which I have not done in so long. So yeah, I read this for the prompt, I think, read a book under 400 pages for the Australian Readathon. I loved this book. I cannot tell you enough how much I love this book. Go watch the vlog, it's really fun. Next up for the prompt for the Australian Readathon, Trees on the Cover, I read Wake by Shelley Bird, the first book in the P.I. Lane Holland series. This one sucked. Yeah, this one was a disappointment. Let me get my notes ready to talk about this. this book to me just felt really silly, like really, really, really silly. Basically, if I can remember correctly, we have Lane Holland, who is like a private detective, and he goes around solving cold cases for money. Like gets the reward money and stuff. He finds this case in this like farming community where like 20 odd, I can't remember how many years ago, 20 odd years ago or something, this little girl went missing from her bedroom, which she shared with her sister at the time. So Lane Holland decides to go to this small farming community and take on that cold case, and he has a personal connection to the story and kind of a dark, I remember the blurb said something like a dark motivation for wanting to solve the case. This book was ridiculous. Like, it was really, really, really silly. I found that Lane, when he talked about previous cases that he solved, like, found the most stupid tiny little bit of evidence that I don't think could convict anyone. He does say like, oh, it's enough to restart the investigation or whatever, but everything is just so convenient in this book. Like, I barely feel like any detective work was actually done. For a book that's about a private detective, he doesn't seem like a very good private detective to me, to be honest. Like, he seems to investigate cases for about 5 minutes, solves them, and moves on. This cold case that has been cold for like 20 plus years with not a scrap of evidence suddenly gets solved by this tiny, stupid little detail. It's just, oh no, he solves 2 cold cases, actually. 2 within the matter of what feels like a couple of days in the story. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know what also annoyed me about this book? Don't get me started. Is there's this stupid ass romance in it. Oh my god, between 2 of our characters in this book, between our detective and another character, I won't say who because spoilers, there's this weird ass romance that seems to come out of absolutely nowhere with 2 characters that have absolutely no chemistry at all. I don't know why this was added to the story. It seemed ridiculous on top of an already ridiculous story. The ending. Don't get me started on the ending. So they basically tell us who did it pretty early on. Like, they don't even give you any other kind of suspects to try and throw you off. Like, yeah, you can mention somebody early on and you can make us suspicious of them, but give us some other potential options to distract us. Don't just tell us who did it and then focus on that for the whole book. I mean, if it was done well, maybe I would have appreciated the kind of the trying to catch him, trying to prove that this person did it, like, you know, cat and mouse, like, do that or something. Don't just tell me who did it and then find the most stupid ass bit of easy evidence to solve it. That, yeah, it's dumb. Also, no, he didn't solve 1 case, he solved like 2 cases, which makes it even dumber. Like, everything like wrapped up in a nice little box with a bow. No issues, done, solved. And it was really, really weird. It was a weird ending. I think that's how I describe it, is weird. The final book for July was The Survivors by the one and only Jane Harper. This was for the prompt randomly selected after my 2 previous failed attempts of Sabriel and Spice Road. So I finally completed this prompt. I listened to this on audio. It's the same narrator, I believe, as her other audiobooks, if I'm not completely making that up, which was good to know because I enjoyed his narration style in her other book I read, I think, which was The Lost Man. I also won't talk too much about this because I did listen to a majority of it in that vlog that I was telling you about earlier, but I still will talk about it a bit because I didn't quite finish it in that vlog, unfortunately. So sorry if I keep looking down. I've got my notes because I have the memory of a goldfish. So I really enjoyed this book. I don't need to look at my notes to remember that. This is set in this small town. We have our main character who used to live in this small town in Tassie when he was younger, before he moved to Sydney to study and then stayed in Sydney. He's not moving back. He's going back to visit Tassie because his father has been diagnosed with dementia and they need to move him into a nursing home. So he's going back home to pack up their family home and help his mother with that. While they're back in Tassie, a girl winds up dead on the beach. And actually, is this a spoiler what I'm about to go into? Oh yeah, and when he was a teenager, some major shit went down as well in this small town. Yes, that's all Ooh, that says yes. So I really enjoyed this. This is definitely a slower pace. I do find that with not all, but a few of Jane Harper's books, they seem to be really slow pace and really character focused. And I feel like if it was any other writer, I would absolutely despise that, because I'm like, I'm here for a thriller. Where's the thrilling aspects? But because I love Jane Harper's writing so much, and because she writes so well, I really don't mind having that super slow pace. I feel like it means that I get to spend so much time really connecting and getting to know these characters, and I feel like I become involved in their lives. And I just feel like any other author, I'd absolutely hate it, but Jane Harper's writing is so good that I eat it up. I really feel like the thriller is kind of a side plot in this book, even though it is a thriller book. And again, normally I'd be really frustrated by that, but it's Jane Harper and I love her writing, so I don't care. Yeah, so we kind of spend a lot of the time going back into Kieran's past and the present and kind of finding out how they connect. We get to know this dark part of Kieran's past, why he's reluctant to go back to his home town in Tassie. We get to find out his dynamic with his parents, with his old mates from the town, and we get to know kind of the dynamic of the town, and we spend half the book on the kind of the mystery of what went down all these years ago when Kieran was a teenager, and who was this missing girl on the beach and what happened to her. And it was really interesting town dynamics. We see how the town turns on each other, what it's like living in a small town where everyone is in everyone's business. Despite the fact that I didn't think a thriller was the main focus, I really liked the twist at the end. I found it really sad but satisfying. Much better ending than Wake, a lot more satisfying. Yeah, when you get to the end and realize what happened, it's just like, oh, that's not thrilling, that's just sad. Like, it was a really clever, intense ending, and I really enjoyed the kind of full circle moment for Kieran. And there's a lot of discussion about Kieran's mental health in this story and his healing and grieving for his brother still. So yeah, I just really enjoyed the full circle moment. I really enjoyed the ending, and I just found like that after you spend all this time with these characters, it just makes it so much sadder when you figure out what happened, because these books are so character based, you get to know this town and these people. So yeah, Jane Harper can do no wrong. If you're looking for a crazy slow paced thriller where you're just like chilling with the people in this town, I highly recommend. If you're looking for a fast paced twisty thriller, this is probably not for you. I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would because of the pacing, but I loved it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments. Have you read any of the books that I read in July? What did you think of them? Do you disagree or agree with my opinions on them? If not, let me know in the comments what was your least favorite read of July. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Give this video a like if you enjoyed my reviews. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content. And I will see you in whatever the hell I post next. Bye!